So say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Today's dedication marks the culmination of nearly 5 years of effort and 82 years of waiting. With completion of this memorial, we have kept the promise to honor our nation's military veterans. I think Charles Kendrick is smiling down on us today. Charles was a World War I veteran, a hero, who led the efforts to build this War Memorial Complex. It culminated in this War Memorial Opera House, the Veterans Building, and this Memorial Court. Charles had a son, Charles Jr. He was an ace, a Marine ace on World War II on Guadalcanal. And he shot down 5 Japanese airplanes before he himself was shot down. Charles Jr. had 2 sisters, Barbara Kendrick Callender and Catherine McKendrick McNeil, both of whom are with us today. Mrs. Callender and Mrs. McNeil, we welcome you here to this today. This memorial is entitled Passage of Remembrance and designed by artist Susan Narduli. Susan is with us today. Susan. I am pleased and honored to welcome one of the co-chairs of our Veterans Memorial Steering Committee and the honorary co-chair for Fleet Week, the Honorable George P. Shultz.
Well, first of all, Mike read off a lot of people to get recognized, but you know who really is the driving force behind getting this done? Mike Myatt. Let's hear it for Mike. I'll tell you something, you put a Marine general in charge and things move. This is a great moment, and we're talking about something called a memorial. But for me, I think the important point is to recognize what veterans bring to us that is special. Let me start with a story. Right after World War II, I learned that if you went on the faculty at MIT, you're supposed to get up and say something. So this guy gets up named Bemis, and he says, I'm very honored to be a member of this faculty. Shows what my colleagues think of me and the administration, but maybe you'd be interested in what a couple of the old-timers in the little town where I grew up in Maine think. A couple of them were sitting by the radio and the announcement comes through. Bemis made a professor at MIT. And one says to the other, I'm not surprised, right from the first grade he was a smart kid. And one says, that's right, whatever went in one ear never came out the other, he got so he knew more and more. He says, that's right, by this time that Bemis, says, by this time that Bemis, he knows everything. The other shakes and says, that's right, that Bemis knows everything, but he don't realize nothing. So I make that point to say there's more than one kind of knowledge. There's what you have in your head, but there's what you learn from your experience. It's what's in your gut, what you realize. And for the most part, things that really move you and cause you to do something emanate from the gut. So I ask you to think about our veterans. What they bring back to us. They are people who have been put under a lot of stress, and they've learned how to handle stress. They've often been deployed in rather strange places, so they learned how to look around and take in that reality and learn something about it. They've learned something about accountability. In life, accountability and having a sense of accountability is really important. They've learned teamwork. They learn to support each other, to take care of each other. I take care of you, you take care of me. That's the bond. They've learned something about leadership. They've seen good leaders. Maybe they've been a leader, undoubtedly, in many instances. And they've also learned something about followership. They've learned about personal responsibility. All these things are in the gut. And the veterans come back and they bring that to us in a way that people who've never had those experiences just don't have. So the message that I want to give at the dedication of this memorial, it's a memorial, but let us remember, memorialize the importance of our veterans, what they bring to the party as a result of the experiences they've had, because they make gigantic contributions to our life. So thank you, veterans.
General, let me add my thanks to you and your wonderful work. Senator Feinstein, former Secretary George Shultz, former Mayor, my good friend, Willie Brown. To all of you, it is really a happy occasion that we match this dedication with Fleet Week. And so it is that we celebrate Fleet Week. We will see and hear the Blue Angels. We will nod to all the officers that are here for Fleet Week. We will have a great time in commissioning the latest ship on our shores, and we will continue to celebrate our giants with the teamwork that they have, all in the spirit that we are a great city, that we do, George, take care of each other. Whether we're in uniform or whether we are lucky to be outside of the uniform, this city will take care of each other. Thank you very much.
General Mike, Secretary Shultz, Mayor Senator Dianne Feinstein, and the current mayor of our great city, Edwin Lee, and all of you who are assembled herein. Let me assure you that this day has been long in coming. Mayors that preceded Dianne had the responsibility. Mayors that preceded almost everybody else we can think of over the last 82 years. But Mayor Ed Lee was indeed blessed. He had George and Charlotte and Wilkes and an incredible collection of people that have already been named who really wanted to see this to happen. And I must say that I am delighted, Mr. Mayor, that I was called upon by many of your department heads, that I was called upon by the War Memorial Opera House Board, that I was called upon by General Mike to be a part of the effort to complete the circle to produce what you are about to see. We can celebrate, and we celebrate with all of the fanfare that goes with being a San Franciscan, because now, for veterans, this is a special place.
I've been in the Senate now 22 years, and I've seen that there is a price for freedom. And you see it up close and personal. And you see it in the faces of our military, people who are willing to stand tall, to be trained, to take orders, and to become the most powerful fighting force on earth. San Francisco has always been a Navy town. And I think the Fleet Weeks, which I was part of bringing back in 1981, have shown that. And I think to our men and women who are assembled here today, who serve in the United States Navy and the United States Marine Corps, that what you will find is a welcoming city. I hope you enjoy the weekend. It's extraordinarily important that you do. If you end up in the hoosgow, please don't call. But otherwise, if there's anything we can do to be of help, I want you to know that we are there. I said this morning, one of the great surprises and pleasant ones to me was to see that the great talent we have in our command force back in Washington. People like the head of the Marine Corps, General Amos. I know of no finer, brighter person than he. And so these are tough times because we are changing. It's no longer in what I do, CIA versus KGB. It's a whole host of metastasizing non-state actors who kill at will and who do some of the most terrible things anyone can think of, and will, if they can, I believe, attack us. So to all of you who say strong to protect this nation, it is not yet a day when we can say we can relax. I want you to know how much we appreciate that. Now, if I can just briefly say a few things about the history of this project. And as Willie has said, it took a real show of force to complete this memorial. The process started 82 years ago. The War Memorial Complex was finished in 1932, but the monument we dedicate today was never built. There was a lot of talk over the years about completing it. 3 separate committees were formed and disbanded. But in 2010, a group made up of Secretaries Shultz and Perry, along with General Myatt and Wilkes Bashford, stepped up. They formed the Veterans Memorial Committee, which has raised more than $2.5 million in private donations. And the result is the wonderful monument we celebrate today, designed by artist Susan Narduli, who I see is right here in the front row, entitled Passage of Remembrance. The grounds on which this monument stands also have a storied history. Over the years, veterans groups held ceremonies to commemorate American wars in a special way. They interred soil from key battlegrounds into the War Memorial Complex right here. In 1936, soil from World War I was added. Soil from World War II was interred in 1945. And Vietnamese soil was added here in 1988. Before the memorial was built, the soil was removed and kept safe. As Charlotte Shultz says, it is sacred soil. And today, it finds its final resting place within the walls of the Passage of Remembrance. So we've waited many years for this day, and we wouldn't have made it without so many champions. So I want to thank the committee. I want to thank the Stephen Bechtel Fund, the Bechtel family. I want to thank all who have contributed to make this moment possible. But more than anything, I want to thank the men and women of this great country that wear the uniform with pride, with a sense of service, and a willingness, if it comes to that, to give their life for the values we treasure as Americans. Thank you.
It is you who must say this. We leave you our deaths. Give them their meaning. We were young, they say. We have died. Remember us.
The dedication of this monument was intended to honor and remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. We remember our brave men and women who fought on behalf of this nation abroad. Part of this monument will contain sacred soil that has been brought from those battlefields, from the hills and valleys in Europe to the jungles and islands in the Far East, and from Central America to the current conflicts happening in the deserts of the Middle East. sacred soil, and this monument will give voice to those who we've lost. We need to renew our vow to stop homelessness in the veteran community, to provide the services and benefits our veterans have earned and deserve, and educate our newest generation of veterans and give true opportunities in the workforce to our highly skilled, highly disciplined veteran job seekers. In this way, we will truly honor and remember the sacrifices made in those faraway lands and give a voice to our honored fallen and those they died for. Thank you.
The chest with the soils was made especially by the staff of the War Memorial Board. The seal of each of the services is on the chest, and the inscription, Ne oublie Wiskamar, which translates, that we never forget. Placing the chest with the soils will be Nelson Lum of the American Legion War Memorial Commission, a Vietnam veteran, and our young veteran, Rogelio Manoy.